The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the landscape. The once vibrant colors of the day faded into a palette of deep purples and blues, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Long dark shadows crept across the graveyard, stretching like skeletal fingers over the ancient tombstones. Each shadow seemed to whisper secrets of the past, tales of those who lay beneath the cold, hard earth. A shiver ran down my spine as the temperature dropped. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant hoot of an owl. It felt as if the graveyard itself was alive, watching us with unseen eyes. It was getting late. Too late. The sky darkened rapidly, stars beginning to peek through the veil of night. The moon, a thin crescent, offered little comfort as its pale light barely illuminated the path ahead. My friends and I had been dared to visit the old cemetery. It was supposed to be a test of courage, a way to prove we weren't afraid of ghost stories and old legends. We laughed it off at first, confident in our bravado. They said it was haunted. Stories of restless spirits and eerie apparitions had been passed down for generations. Some claimed to have seen ghostly figures wandering among the graves, while others spoke of strange noises and unexplained phenomena. I didn't believe in ghosts. I had always been a skeptic, dismissing such tales as mere superstition. But as we stood at the entrance of the cemetery, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. But something about the place made me uneasy. The air felt heavy, charged with an energy that was both intriguing and terrifying. My heart raced as we took our first steps inside, the gravel crunching underfoot. The air grew colder as we approached the iron gates, a chill that seemed to seep into our bones, making us shiver despite our layers of clothing. The gates loomed before us, tall and foreboding, their iron bars twisted and rusted with age. They creaked open with a mournful groan, the sound echoing through the stillness of the night. We stepped inside, our footsteps hesitant and unsure. Big mistake. The moment we crossed the threshold, it felt as if we had entered another world, one where the line between the living and the dead was blurred. The cemetery was ancient and overgrown. Weeds choked the crumbling headstones, twisted branches clawed at the sky, an owl hooted in the distance. "This place gives me the creeps," whispered my friend Emily. Her voice trembled. "Me too," admitted Ben. He tried to sound brave, but I could tell he was scared. I didn't say anything, I just wanted to get this over with. We had to spend 10 minutes in the cemetery, then we could leave. We walked deeper into the graveyard, the crunch of leaves underfoot the only sound breaking the eerie silence. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to dance and flicker with every step we took. The ancient tombstones, weathered by time, stood like silent sentinels watching our every move. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a reminder of the countless souls that rested beneath our feet. The air grew heavy and still, as if the very atmosphere was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. A dense fog began to roll in, wrapping around the gravestones like a ghostly shroud. It was as if the graveyard itself was coming alive, the spirits of the departed reaching out to us through the mist. Every now and then, a distant owl hooted, its mournful cry echoing through the stillness, adding to the sense of foreboding that hung in the air. I thought I heard whispers carried on the wind, faint and indistinct, like the murmurs of a long-forgotten conversation. The wind rustled through the trees, making the leaves dance and whisper secrets of their own. It was a sound that sent shivers down my spine, a reminder that we were not alone in this place. The whispers seemed to grow louder, more insistent, as if they were trying to tell us something, to warn us of some impending danger. But when I turned around, there was no one there. The path behind us was empty, the gravestones standing silent and still. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, a cold sweat breaking out on my forehead. I tried to shake off the feeling of unease, telling myself it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But deep down, I knew there was something more to it, something that defied explanation. "Did you hear that?" I asked nervously, my voice barely above a whisper. My friend looked at me, their eyes wide with fear. They nodded slowly, confirming that they had heard it too. The realization that we were both experiencing the same thing sent a fresh wave of terror through me. What could it be? Was it the spirits of the dead trying to communicate with us, or something more sinister lurking in the shadows? My friends shook their heads. They hadn't heard anything. They looked at me with a mixture of concern and confusion, clearly wondering if I was losing my mind. I tried to explain what I had heard, but the words seemed to stick in my throat. How could I make them understand the sense of dread that was creeping over me? The feeling that we were being watched by unseen eyes. But I knew I wasn't imagining it. The whispers, the feeling of being watched, it was all too real. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. I had to find out what was going on, to uncover the truth behind the strange occurrences. I couldn't let fear control me, not now. There was something here, something that wanted to be found, and I was determined to discover what it was. There was something else here with us, a presence that I could feel but couldn't see. It was as if the shadows themselves were alive, moving and shifting just out of the corner of my eye. I could sense it watching us, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. The feeling of dread grew stronger, and I knew we had to be careful. Whatever it was not friendly, and it was not going to let us leave without a fight. The wind picked up, swirling around us like a cold, unseen hand. It tugged at our clothes, making the leaves dance wildly around our feet. The temperature seemed to drop suddenly, and I could see my breath forming small clouds in the air. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, as if they were trying to tell us something important. I strained to make out the words, but they remained just out of reach, tantalizingly close yet frustratingly distant. I felt a chill run down my spine, a cold, creeping sensation that made my skin crawl. I looked at my friends, their faces pale and drawn with fear. We were all feeling it, the same sense of impending doom. It was as if the graveyard itself was alive, a malevolent force that was determined to keep us there. I knew we had to leave, but something was holding us back, a force that we couldn't see but could definitely feel. Something was wrong, very wrong. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of danger, a feeling that something terrible was about to happen. The dark clouds gathered overhead, casting an ominous shadow over the graveyard. The whispers reached a fever pitch, a cacophony of voices that seemed to be coming from all around us. I knew we had to get out of there, but the path ahead was shrouded in darkness, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that something was waiting for us in the shadows. We came to a clearing. In the center stood a massive mausoleum. It was made of dark gray stone and looked ancient. Ivy covered its walls like long, grasping fingers. "Let's not go in there," pleaded Emily. Her eyes were wide with fear. But Ben, ever the daredevil, was already pushing open the heavy oak door. It creaked open with a low groan, as if disturbed from a long sleep. Section 5. A sudden shift. We stepped inside, our footsteps echoing off the cold stone walls. The atmosphere was heavy, almost as if the air itself was laden with the weight of centuries of history. Each step we took seemed to reverberate through the ages, a reminder of the countless souls who had passed through these very doors. The air inside was stale and cold, carrying with it a sense of foreboding. It was as if the very essence of the place had seeped into the atmosphere, creating an almost tangible sense of unease. The chill seemed to penetrate our bones, making us shiver despite our warm clothing. It was a stark contrast to the world outside, where the sun still shone brightly, oblivious to the darkness within. The only light came from the open doorway behind us, casting long, eerie shadows that danced on the walls. The sunlight seemed reluctant to enter, as if it too was wary of the secrets hidden within. The contrast between the bright, warm light outside and the dim, cold interior was striking, creating an almost surreal atmosphere. It felt as though we were stepping into another world, one where time stood still and the past lingered just out of reach. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like ghostly drapes, swaying gently in the draft. They seemed to be the only things that moved in this otherwise still and silent place. The intricate patterns of the webs caught the faint light, creating delicate, almost beautiful designs that belied the eerie atmosphere. It was a reminder that life, in some form, still existed here, even if it was only the spiders that spun their webs in the shadows. The mausoleum was empty except for a single stone sarcophagus in the center of the room. It stood as a silent sentinel, guarding the secrets of the past. The stone was worn and weathered, bearing the marks of time and the elements. It was a stark reminder of the impermanence of life and the inevitability of death. The emptiness of the room seemed to amplify the presence of the sarcophagus, making it the focal point of the space. It was ornately carved with images of skulls and crossbones, a macabre testament to the person who lay within. The craftsmanship was exquisite, each detail meticulously rendered in the cold, hard stone. The carvings told a story of a life lived long ago and the inevitable end that came to us all. It was a stark reminder of our own mortality and the fleeting nature of our existence. The artistry of the carvings was both beautiful and haunting, a fitting tribute to the departed. Suddenly the wind outside picked up, slamming the heavy oak door shut with a deafening boom. The sound echoed through the mausoleum, startling us and breaking the silence. It was as if the building itself was reacting to our presence, reminding us that we were intruders in this sacred space. The sudden noise jolted us out of our reverie, bringing us back to the present and the reality of our situation. We were plunged into darkness. The sudden loss of light was disorienting, leaving us momentarily blind and vulnerable. The darkness seemed to close in around us, amplifying the sense of unease that had been building since we entered. It was as if the mausoleum itself was alive, reacting to our presence and testing our resolve. In that moment, we were acutely aware of the weight of history and the countless souls who had passed through these doors before us. The darkness was oppressive, a tangible reminder of the unknown that lay ahead. "No!" Emily screamed. "The door! It's locked!" I ran to the door and rattled the handle. It wouldn't budge. The door was bolted shut. We were trapped. Panic welled up inside me. I pounded on the door with my fists. "Help! Somebody let us out!" But my cries were met with only silence. We were alone, trapped in the darkness with whatever evil lurked within the mausoleum walls. We huddled together in the darkness, our fear growing with each passing moment. The air seemed to grow colder, as if an unseen presence had entered the room. "We have to get out of here," I whispered, my voice trembling. We fumbled around in the darkness, searching for another way out. There had to be another door, a window, anything. Finally Ben cried out, "Here, I found something!" We rushed to where Ben stood. He was next to a small barred window set high in the wall. It was our only hope. Ben and I worked together to pry open the bars while Emily kept watch. Our hearts pounded in our chests. We had to get out of there. Finally, with a groan of metal, the bars gave way. One by one we squeezed through the narrow opening and tumbled to the soft earth outside. We didn't stop running until we were far away from the cemetery. We didn't look back. We didn't speak. I don't know what happened that night. I don't know how the door slammed shut or who locked it. But I know one thing for sure. I'm never going near that cemetery again.